excited to have my friend and really a great person to know in the community here in the Alpharetta community, Ted Jenkins, on the show tonight. And this is actually, I call it a show because this is something I want to keep doing. And it's sort of a thought I had out of watching what's going on with small businesses right now in our community and really wanting to help out, highlight these small businesses that are doing everything they can to stay afloat, keep their employees employed, and continue to service their clients as they're dealing with such unknown times, which the COVID-19 has brought us. I was listening to Tom Petty yesterday, and I was listening to his song, Won't Back Down. And that's when I kind of got the idea, that's when I kind of got the groove of, that's exactly what we're all doing as small businesses. We're we've made a decision that we won't back down. We are going to do everything we can to come out resilient and to come out on top and to come out with better services to our clients and better connected to our community out of this. This is a great opportunity for all of us to rise above and to take a introspective look at how are we doing as business owners and how can we pivot and learn and continue pushing forward with our mission despite what's going on in the economy, but still be mindful of it. So I know a lot of people really want to see the businesses in their community thrive. So I really wanted to put together a Facebook Live show where any small business in the community, Alpharetta, Milton, anywhere in Atlanta that would like to be highlighted, please let me know. I'd love to spend a couple of minutes on Facebook Live and highlight you and talk about your mission and your story and how you're still continuing to push forward to give your clients services throughout this time, and how you won't back down and be resilient throughout this. And I couldn't think of anybody better to start off this with than Ted Jenkins. Ted is the co-founder and CEO of Oxygen Financial, which is a fantastic financial advisory firm. But that's not really where it stops for Ted. He is also an entrepreneur. He has multiple other businesses. So he really has skin in the game with the business owners that he represents at Oxygen Financial. And he shares that brotherhood of entrepreneurship with them. And Ted's also brought on to CNN frequently to speak about money and the economy. So personally, very honored that Ted agreed to do this. So thank you so much, Ted. Thank you for agreeing to do this. And how are you tonight?
I feel great. I'm actually in downtown Alpharetta. It probably looks like I'm in my home, but I'm actually in a home, which is my office in downtown Alpharetta. I mean, even though everyone said you should be working out of your house, I thought to myself, this is kind of my home away from home. So I've been working every day alone, really, in my office while everybody else is at home, kind of seeing what's going on in my community down here in downtown Alpharetta.
Yeah, and you have a really amazing story, and you have an amazing story of you've accomplished a lot, you've built a lot, but it wasn't spoon-fed to you. So for everybody that's listening, could you go a little bit about your background of how you've come to establish everything you've established and how you're supporting the community through your businesses?
Yeah, so I mean, the short story is that I got into the business in 1991. And the reason I got into this business to begin with is that my father passed away when I was a teenager. And my mom was a fifth grade school teacher. And unfortunately, when he died, he left her with nothing. And it really inspired me to get into a career where I could teach people, but at the same token, maybe do a little bit better financially than being a teacher. So I spent 16 years with American Express. I worked my way up as a W-2 employee to become a senior vice president. And then basically in 2007, think about getting paid a seven-figure job and quitting it to start at zero. And I felt that, what the company was doing was fine, but they weren't really serving the local community. And I'd always dreamed of basically being a local business owner. So Sarah, who could pick a better time than right in the market crash of 2008 to start Oxygen? And the last five letters of Oxygen are XY Gen. And basically 13 years ago, I thought nobody was serving the X and Y generation. Everyone was a little bit younger. Could I create a firm that would basically specialize in helping those folks with their finances and their businesses? And basically from zero, literally not having a client in 2008, We now handle more than $1.5 billion for client assets, and we are a massive advocate of local buying from local. So everything that I buy when possible, which is 99% of the time, I buy local.
That's fantastic, and I think that's part of the message of supporting our community right now. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. We might have donated $10,000 already in just the last couple of weeks. That range from supporting my friend Nate Hibble, who owns Gusto. You may have seen that restaurant in the city, and obviously all restaurants are hurting immensely right now. And we donated more than $1,000 of meals to the doctors at Northside Hospital, to supporting Melissa and Andrew Rudd, who own Da Vinci's Donuts, and we gave away $1,000 worth of donuts over the last couple of days and brought them around to business owners that still have their shingles open. But we're trying to do everything we can, buy wherever we can, to help our local business owners.
And Ted, can you also mention the other business? You also have HyperChat Social, which is a social media company. Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, sure. Never intended to open a social media company, but a lot of you watching, you intend to open one business, and all of a sudden you get the bug and you figure out another sleeve of another business that might make sense. And I was doing all of my marketing through social media and traditional media. I never liked the idea of, serving dinners at Ruth Chris Steakhouse and stuff like that. So about 4 years ago, a bunch of financial advisors asked me and said, "Hey, could you do our marketing for us?" And I thought at first, why would I give away all the secrets of the secret sauce that I built? And then I thought, well, I'm not going to give them away. What happens if I can sell them and create a business? So I started a business called HyperChat Social, which originally started out as just financial advisors, but now I'm helping really small business owners as the market with branding. We created our own social media platform and writing content, building lead generation funnels, digital advertising, video, and much, much more. And it's turned into an almost $2 million a year business now.
And I love it because my daughter goes to Alpharetta Christian Academy, and as I drive down Highway 9 to take her to school every day, I pass by your building every day, and I'm like, oh, that's Ted's HyperChat Social business. You also have another project. You have so many projects, but one of them that I love is the shrimp tank, which is another avenue that you've used to support businesses and business owners. If you don't mind just giving people a little bit of information on that as well, if they want to follow you on that.
Yeah, well, again, about 4 years ago, we started working with Kennesaw State. And I got involved, donated some money, got on the board of their entrepreneur school, which started because Kennesaw State was the first university in the state of Georgia to have a degree in entrepreneurship. And I really thought there'd be a lot of energy being around the kids. And I was joking around with the lead instructor and said, hey, it'd be great if we had a show called The Shrimp Tank, not the Shark Tank. And we bring the kids on the show and we let them pitch some ideas, and we won't invest in them, but it'd be kind of fun. Well, it turned out that we started interviewing some very successful business owners in Atlanta about their journey to be a business owner. And it just turned into a podcast. And we've probably done 240 episodes now. We're on iHeartRadio, and it's been amazing. And then I had other financial advisors and business owners in other cities that said, hey, we really love your podcast. And I said, well, if you want to license it, we'll do the back end work. And we'll create the video for you, the social media. We'll give you the template, and you do it in your city. And now we have licenses in 14 cities, and we just signed a licensing deal in Canada to start doing them in Canada. So it's turned into a little.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
It's slowly becoming multinational.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool. But the most cool part about it, Sarah, is just hearing the stories of what we all deal with every day. And probably more so now. Nobody realizes how much risk a business owner takes. Nobody realizes how hard it is to run a business until you actually have to do it.
Yeah. And it's I think it's Will Smith or some famous person that said something like, you have to be a little bit delusional to get into it. Because we kind of do. I mean, all the statistics, all the odds out there are supposed to be against us. And yet there is something gnawing so deep inside of us that wants to express itself in the form of a business. And truly one of the most rewarding things ever, though, once you've built a team and you watch this team provide your vision of what your services should look like to amazing clients that you had in your mind, and now they've come to fruition in front of you. So I am so grateful that the government has been so outspoken about protecting the small businesses. And I'm so grateful that they are appreciating what small business owners are doing, and also all the employees of small businesses, because they're also taking a chance, right? A lot of, I'll say this about our team. Every member of my team could have any job they want because they're that amazing. They're all superstar A-team players, but they chose to come and work at a small business, which is our law firm, which compared obviously to any other large multinational companies or multinational law firms, it's still a small business. And the fact that, so I think we have to honor those employees as much as we honor the business owners, because they're also feeding their families with the income of these small businesses. So let's get to that. This small business owners is your main clientele at Oxygen Financial, and I know they seek to you for leadership and for advice during this time. And what is your advice to small business owners right now as far as staying resilient financially during this time?
I think these are the biggest times where you have, fight or flight, right? It's not about the good times when money is pouring in and business is good and it feels like you really don't even have to work that hard. It's just happening. It's when these times happen where you're dealt with less than of a good poker hand that you have to basically play that hand. So I think you have varying spectrums as we're seeing on this scale here, Sarah. Your retail businesses are getting hit the hardest. People that have hair and nail salons, people that have one or two restaurants that may be in a strip mall, or you own a local sporting goods store. It's really, really difficult right now. And I think, look, there's going to be some assistance from the government, and you've got to basically get first in line to get as much free money as you can. The bill finally got passed last night, and we'll see how quickly they're able to disseminate money into small business owners' hands. But there's going to be, at least in this phase 3, $400 to $500 billion that gets in the hands of small business owners. And I do believe that the government is in a position now where they're in blank check mode, which I think that they'll continue to put money in business owners' hands, because they realize that this is a very difficult curve to be facing, Sarah. You have, on one hand, business won't return to normal until people's lives return to normal. On the other hand, if we wait too long for people's lives to return to normal, business will never return to normal. And that's a huge intersection and inflection point we have to deal with. So be looking at your P&L first of all, and realize that this is the trickle down effect. Every single vendor is going to work with you, because every single vendor is in the line of defense. If you have an IT company, or you have a copier plan, or you're paying rent to a landlord, I would be looking at all of them to talk about deferment, slashing cost. Will it hurt them? Yes, but everybody's hurting right now. And this is where, to a degree, we all have to band together and say that everyone might not be able to pay full freight right now, but we do all believe this will get back together, and it's not.
It's to your vendor's interest for you to stay in business. So your vendors, a good vendor would want to work with you to make sure you stay in business so you can continue to be a client. And then when, things pick back up, you can pay full price again.
Yeah, 100%. And these small business loans, the website literally crashed today, but as quickly as you can sign up for the disaster relief loans, and they're very, very favorable. How many loans? We all know when you sign a loan, you generally have to sign in blood today. They want your firstborn, and everything is collateral. The days of no personal guarantee are gone, but this is one of those times with the SBA that you will not have to have a personal guarantee. And that's just how dire the situation is right now.
Do you recommend that even a small business owner that is not being hit hard by this and is not financially yet at a point where they're struggling for this, that they should still go ahead and apply for that SBA loan?
I mean, I'd love to say that you want to wait for people to get in line and, children get to go first, right? But I don't think anybody really knows now. It's just so interesting. I mean, does anybody really know which business got hit the hardest here? I mean, I think everybody's feeling some effect. I don't think I've met very many business owners that are feeling no effect at all. The degrees of effect are obviously different, but I think if you wait in line, there's going to be no money. It's one of those things, if you get to the back of the line,
Right.
there isn't going to be any money, and that could take another 3 months. It's an unknown now because we don't know how long the health epidemic will go. What I will say is that if your business is not in dire circumstances, like I realize a one store hibachi place is going to be in dire circumstances.
Right.
If it's not, at Oxygen, we've not, and HyperChat too, we've not only cut our marketing, but I'm taking everything I can where I can, and I'm investing deeper into marketing because I do think that although this is a crisis, I do think you also gain market share in a crisis. And so I'm surprised, Sarah, about how many business owners did not have a cash reserve. Like when you run your personal finances, you want to have 3 to 6 months in a cash reserve. You want to have credit cards, even if you pay them down immediately, so you have lines of credit if you have to access them. I'm actually surprised about how many of these owners have fallen flat in 2 weeks because A, they didn't have a corporate cash reserve, and B, they didn't establish lines of credit because like, oh, we're not going to need that. But the idea of having a line of credit is that that day could come. I'm surprised about how many small business owners did not have that. The ones I work with, we coach them into it all the time. I'm just surprised in seeing people who didn't have that.
I completely agree with you on that. I'm very shocked to see how quickly people are laying their employees off right now, because we're really I know it's been a hard 2 weeks or a week and a half, but we're only a week and a half into this. And as of end of last week, people were laying people off. And I'm here wondering what kind of we need to step up as business owners and be ready for these downturns. And hopefully this will be for the businesses that survive this. And I'm hopeful that most will, they will take this as a huge wake up call. I mean, why should we let go our team off after a week of business being bad? I mean, any downturn could happen, maybe not at this catastrophic level, but anything could happen that could knock you out of business for a week, and you have to be ready for that.
Yeah, I think, that the idea of having a cash reserve is not just for emergencies, but also opportunities. In a business like ours, if another firm's asset level is down 30%, let's say they had 100 million and they were going to sell, and now they're at 70. Well, I've got a much better deal buying a $70 million book than I do a $100 million book. So, it's not even just that too. We were talking before the video a little bit about insurance, and you think about the property and casualty insurance you buy. And it's so odd to me that nobody ever really reads a policy until they need a policy. And then they're shocked about what the policy will actually cover. And when it comes to a business, we're all running so quick that an agent comes in and sells a business liability policy, or you think you have E&O or D&O or cyber liability until that happens. And the question is now, did you even look at your policy to see if you qualify for business interruption? Is it in your policy? If it is, what you want to find in the state of Georgia is what's called to be an independent insurance adjuster. Do not go to your insurance company. The independent insurance adjusters fight on your behalf. They know how to read the policies and fight for the money. And you've got to look for that now, because if you go to the insurance company, they're going to tell you, oh, if you read Section 8, paragraph B, nothing's covered here. But that may not be true. You just really need to get somebody on your side to look at that.
What advice do you have for families? Let's say even beyond business owners. What advice do you have for families right now that are worried about a member of the family being laid off, cash being poor, cash poor, and they're just worried about how they're going to get through this? What financial advice do you have for them?
What a great time to dump the kids, huh? When people manage their personal finances, I think often, and I feel like I've seen this now 3 or 4 times in my career, they never really plan for how much they might have over leveraged themselves. And so people easily succumb to lifestyle inflation. As your income increases, your lifestyle expands to it. So what you would do in a business, you also want to be thinking about individually. If you're getting a tax refund here, don't spend it. If you work as a W-2 employee or a member of your family does, read the benefits manual now before a layoff happens. What is available to you? Can you cash in your PTO or your sick days as cash? If you get a severance package, I'd read very thoroughly what that severance package looks like. Are there benefits that you could be using at work now or maximizing the health insurance you have now in case you're not on it anymore? These are all questions to be asking, but what's most shocking to me about how people manage their money is that if you have a goal in a year, let's say somebody's on tonight and your their child's college tuition is due in August. You have no business being in the stock market at all. And people forget that the stock market, just like real estate, is a long-term investment. And if you can't be in it for 5 years or more, then you don't belong in it. And but I feel like sometimes it's like when people go to Las Vegas, they see a bunch of people at the craps table and everyone feels like they're on a roll and the dice are humming, and then you want to put your money on the table until you realize you don't belong at that table. So now I would just take stock of your full financial plan. It's a great time to reset, but the most notably, Sarah, I would say, it's really time to do what I call to be the 21-day budget cleanse, which is, I wrote a book on this, and it's to really look at the 21 essentials in your household. And this is not about frugality. It's about saying, just like a business, have I shopped every vendor to figure out if I have the best deal? And if there was a time to shop, it would be the best time to shop. And my last comment on this, Sarah, is that if you consider about how to be a smart shopper, we all know that like holiday season, Christmas, Hanukkah, everything that happens in December, most people shop in October and November. You're going to see deals of a lifetime in the next month here from all the major retailers who are getting crippled right now. If you have cash, it's going to be Christmas in April. And that's actually the time that you be shopping for Christmas.
So is this, would your recommendation be sort of similar to George Bush's after 9/11, where he said, go out and shop to help the economy out? Would you say for us to do that come April to help our local businesses out?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, 100%. We worked with one restaurant on a program called Dining Bonds. And I'm not going to guarantee you, but I'll bet you if you went to a local restaurant and said, I'll tell you what, I'll put $200 toward your business today, but give me a $250 gift card I can spend in October, they would do it. And it's like you have your most negotiable power now when you have cash. And absolutely, I would be spending money now. I think you're going to get a great deal on furniture. How many people are walking into a furniture store now or a rug store? And it's like, if you needed to get that sectional for your house, it's the time to spend money if you have it, I think, for deals. Not go crazy, don't kill your cash reserve, but I think there'd be deals galore. And the only last thing I want to point out is that some of you have built up frequent flyer points over the years. If you're an American Express user, go to their clearance section, and you're going to see some great deals on the Amex points clearance section where you might be able to pick up some things for points and not for money. I checked it out, and there's some pretty good deals on there now.
Oh, that's a great tip. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say to families who have money in their retirements caught up in stocks right now?
Well, this goes back to the original thing I was talking about, which is I feel like a lot of people don't know how to act their age. And what I mean by that is that if you just take a simple number like 100 and you subtract your age, so let's just say that you're 40, and you take 100 minus 40, which is 60, that's about how much money you should have in stocks or equities. And the other 40 should be in fixed income. So you want to ask yourself, is my money appropriately adjusted? And I do think if you have 5 or more years, I really wouldn't be in like some panic-stricken mode right now. These cycles happen. They've happened for many, many years, and it will pass. But if you're going to retire in a few years and you need to start drawing income, you might really reconsider how the construct of your money is set up.
I love what you just said, because this specific situation is unprecedented. This specific situation could not have been predicted, but unknown things happening politically, health-wise, socially, and to the economy, that's not unprecedented, right? Who could have predicted 9/11 happening, correct?
No, you're absolutely right. Since 1981, we've had 11 epidemics in this country. And in 81, for those that are old enough to remember, AIDS was a massive epidemic. Mm-hmm. Consider what it would have looked like in today's social media, smartphone, 24/7 TV, if AIDS happened today. Now, in those 11 epidemics, 9 out of 11 times where the markets have had 20% bear corrections, in a year, they've gone positive 13.6% off the bottom. The difference in this market, what we saw is it was the fastest bear correction in history. It took 22 days, where the average of the last 25 bear markets was 296 days. So the reason I'm telling you this for everybody on the broadcast tonight is that the markets no longer run just on fundamentals of how companies do. They're very much run today on sentiment, and the media has massive influence. Don't tell me that somebody on here hasn't been watching Talking Bobbleheads on TV the last week or two. And so we're very caught up on high emotion. And as you know, as business owners that are on tonight, it's the worst way to make a decision, right? So just stop for a second and breathe and ask yourself these simple questions. What can I know? What don't I know? Yeah. And then use that information and say, let me do the best with what I do know and what I don't know to build a framework for making decisions. Don't make a decision because your friend at the water cooler said, buy Dunkin' Donuts now. Don't make a decision because somebody said, sell Apple now. They're going out of business. Right. There's so much speculative decision-making that's going on right now. That's what I worry, Sarah, most for people, that they're just not making level-headed decisions.
And I love that, because basically, it's not that we haven't had disasters happen that have had an economic effect before, right? We have had political disasters, and health disasters have had a political effect. But we live in a day and age now that there's so much information given to us constantly through social media and through the news cycle, so much noise, that's having its complete own separate effect on the economy, despite what effect the pandemic itself is having.
Yeah, consider something simple on here, like the airlines. Here's what we can know. You're probably going to be able to fly in an airplane again. I think it's pretty unlikely that none of us are ever going to take a flight again, right? What we don't know is we don't know if one of the 20 airlines that are out there is going to go out of business. Will they all go out of business? No, of course not. Could one of them go out of business? Yeah. Could I tell you which one? Not yet, no. But we know that we're going to be able to fly again. So you just have to put some common sense around that. And, people often say, oh my gosh, the whole airline industry is going to go bankrupt. It's like, well, by saying that, you'd be saying that we're never going to fly in a plane again.
Right.
And that's not going to happen. And honestly, if you think about like germaphobes out there, you tell me what's more germy, being on a cruise or being on a train, being on a bus or being on a plane, take your chances. Where do you want to go? So it's just, I hear a lot of that noise today. And as business owners, as you manage your own family, you have to try to drown out the speculation and stuff that's just not grounded in facts, and it's not grounded in common sense framework for making decisions.
And I think that also for a lot of small business owners, they have to step up if they have a team and be mindful of where their team is also getting information, and really step up their leadership at this point, and in the community as well, because we have to be mindful that our teams are also being exposed to this information. Our clients are also being exposed to this information. So I think a lot of your advice, I think any business owner that's listening to you tonight really should take this advice and take it to their own bubble and their own team and to their clients, and make sure that everybody in your sphere of influence is asking themselves these questions, these constructive questions, instead of making decisions on emotion and really shooting themselves in the foot in the process. I also wanted to ask you, the past couple of days, the Dow has been up. What are your thoughts on that? Because I look at that and I get excited, but I know that I also should be take a moment and control my excitement over it and look at data. And that's when I come to you.
I'm wondering whether the emotion that most people are having is excitement or relief. You know, it's interesting because the only two drivers behaviorally in the market, and I've been doing this for 29 years, has been fear and greed. And of course, the fear of the unknown is the worst emotion to have, because it's the one that causes the widest array of poor decision making. But it's ironic, and this will just tell you my comment about how much the media moves the market versus actual things, is that the stimulus bill didn't get passed till late last night. So the movement of the single biggest day in the market since the 1930s was predicated on what? If you really go back and you look at
it wasn't on the passing of the stimulus package.
Right. What it was on, Sarah, it was on the hope that the stimulus package would pass that night. Just if those that remember on here, at the end of 2018, when many of you lost 20% of your money in the stock market, you probably don't even remember it. It was a whole quarter of the fear of China and would we sign a deal and global. If you go back and look at your money, you got crushed for 3 months at the end of 2018. And then 2019 was just Gloryville. We hit the beginning of 2020 here at Gloryville. And then all of a sudden, most of you felt like you got hit by a shovel. And you know, we don't know for a fact, this is what we don't know, that this will pass in a month and the stimulus package happens and the markets get all excited about the sentiment and this whipsaws right back up, which is why the initial question is, are you in this for the long term or not? And you need the money in a year. You shouldn't bother be looking at the red and greens and the bobbleheads on CNBC.
Right.
And if you're in it for 10 years and you pick quality stuff that you think makes sense, and I wouldn't be that worried about it.
Thank you so much, Ted. I know I've taken up way more of your time than I promised you, so I apologize for that. But this is so helpful for so many families, and just even beyond our Atlanta, Alpharetta, Milton community. Goes, I think anybody from anywhere listening is so hungry for information that isn't just noise. Even if it's just information that makes them just ask better questions, which is a great gift you've given. I have a request, and I think I already got the request approved prior to us going live. I love your budget detox book. Would you be willing to share that book? Can we with anybody that requests it?
Yes, I told Sarah before the broadcast. You know, I put the book on Amazon, and we did hit the bestseller list on Amazon. But Sarah is going to give you an email, and if you email that, one of my staff at Oxygen will send you the 21-day budget cleanse. It is meant to be a book that's easy to read and easy to implement. And we took all of the things that people do for 21-day diet and 21-day exercise programs.
That's why I call it a detox, because I think of when you do a diet detox.
And I will tell you what, it's even something you can share with your kids, because I've got 3 kids, and a lot of our kids are not learning personal finance in the high schools and the colleges. And it's shocking to me that you can get a college degree and not know how to buy a car, not know how to sign a lease. And we're concerned about all of your families and helping those kids understand that money doesn't grow on trees. And, you know, it's not just a swipe and there's magical money in it.
Right.
And it's just a great book. So I'm happy and delighted for everyone took the time tonight and coming on our broadcast to give them the book.
Awesome. So I'm going to share that email address on the comments section of the live feed, and anybody that wants the book, I highly recommend it. Most business owners, I don't want to assume everybody, but I would imagine most have a budget for how to run their business. This teaches you how to do that for your household, and to really keep your eye on your financial management and for all aspects of your life. Ted, where can people find you for Oxygen Financial or HyperChat Social?
Easiest thing to do is go to oxygenfinancial.com, oxygenfinancial.com. If you're ever in downtown Alpharetta, don't hesitate to stop in and say hi. We're right behind where they're building the new hotel. And you can go to hyperchatsocial.com, hyperchatsocial.com. And like Sarah was saying, we're right on North Main Street here in Alpharetta. And if you own a local business, talk to us. We're not only big about local business. Not only can we get you on the Shrimp Tank, which may be able to help you promote your business. We also had Sarah, and she was a great guest on the Atlanta Small Business Network. We do a TV show that goes on CBS and Peachtree TV. And look, we got to get our local businesses out there. I'm not saying big national businesses are bad, but I'm saying that 70 to 80 cents of every dollar that you spend with someone like me or Sarah or anybody in our community stays in our community, and we hire more people. We help our schools, we help our local businesses, and it makes me proud to be part of the community.
Yeah. And if anybody out there is a small business owner who would like for us to highlight your business, for you to discuss what you're doing to pivot right now, how you're still of service to your clients or customers, please let me know. I'd love to have you on here. I think a lot of people have the perception who have been truly quarantined at home that it's zombie land out there right now and nothing is open and nothing is operating. And if you want to let people know that you're still out there and you won't back down, then please reach out and I would love to highlight you. Ted, a world of thanks to you. Take care. And I look forward to staying in touch with you throughout this. And I really appreciate your leadership through all of this.
Thanks for having me on, Sarah.
Absolutely. Thank you.